Am I the butthole for not declining or signing over my portion of my ex-boyfriend's life insurance payout to his mom? I recently learned that my ex-boyfriend passed away of cancer in March. His mom called me last week to inform me of his passing and to inform me that myself and her are listed as beneficiaries on his life insurance from his employer. She instantly tells me that she doesn't know why he never changed it, but I can decline or sign the check over to her once I receive it. Instantly, I am in shock. He's gone? And he left me on there? Why? I went back and forth wondering if this was on purpose or accidental. It has been years since we mutually civilly split up. I was informed he had a new girlfriend that lived with him, and she has 2 kids from a previous relationship that threw a wrench into things more. Is there a reason she never got put on it? Was this all just a big mistake? Today it has been 1 week, and this has been very hard, especially since his mom has been terrorizing me all week trying to get me to agree to give her this money. She has said the most hurtful things, and she has sent me the most disrespectful photos and videos of her son in his last moments. As of right now, I haven't even gotten in touch with the insurance company. I have no idea how much this is, or if I need a lawyer help at this point. Well, today is the day I woke up knowing 100% I am keeping this money and I am not going to feel bad at all for helping my family with a gift my ex left for me. Unfortunately, part of me still wonders if it's the right thing to do by my ex, and if these were his wishes in the end. A little info to add, my home burned to the ground 3 years ago in July, and October 1st, 2 years ago, my mom passed from cancer as well. It has been a long, hard few years, and this money would literally buy myself a new bra for the first time in 3 years. My little clan could really use this money, and I think my ex knew that. No, I think it's just a big mistake and you're a horrible person who is taking money from his 2 kids. Yes, they are not his biological kids, but he was raising them together with his girlfriend, and now you're taking away the money. Oh my god, you horrible, horrible, horrible person. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get 25 more subscribers till the end of the week. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Am I the butthole for telling my stepdaughter she can have her passed away dad pay for her wedding? I may have gone too far. My now wife divorced her ex when her 3 kids were young. He had problems with substances. She met me a few years later and we dated for 2 years before she introduced me to her kids. 2 kids really hit it off and Callie did not like me. Just passive-aggressive stuff, but it became much worse when her dad passed away. She did not take it well and resulted in a lot of outbursts. I wasn't living there at the time. She went into therapy, but overall didn't seem like it helped. She threatens to run away if I married their mom. So I stayed away but continued to date their mom. Over time, the 2 other kids started to stay at my place in order to get away from the drama. It was a rough time for them and we bonded even more. When Kelly was 18, the 2 of us decided to stop putting our life on hold and get married. Kelly hated this. The other kids were happy though. Every interaction I have had with her has been unpleasant, and I do not see her as one of my kids. I eventually adopted her siblings when they were 16 and 17. They asked me. During that time, she destroyed a lot of her siblings' stuff for betraying their dad. Now I rarely see her, and I prefer it that way. The 2 kids have an on and off relationship. I paid for my 2 kids' wedding. I got a call from her asking me to pay for her wedding, since I paid for the other 2. I told her no. This started an argument about how it's unfair. I had enough and told her to have her dad pay for the wedding. She hung up after some lovely names. I may have gone too far, which makes me a jerk. Well, was it the most smart thing to do? No. But were you justified to say no when she asked to pay for her wedding? Absolutely yes. Am I the butthole for not allowing my son and his fiancée in my house because they don't treat my wife like a grandma? So my son Mason, who is 25, got with his fiancée pretty young, at 18. Now, would I had agreed with this choice especially for a kid who was in engineering and in a top university? No, but he seemed happy, And that's what matters to me, just as long as he didn't forget about his studies and himself. My wife, on the other hand, didn't. She wanted him to do the same as our eldest two did. No dating, just focusing on school and coming out with amazing grades. They had a big argument about not only his choice of dating, but his girlfriend Tracy also. Nothing racist, my wife and his girlfriend are the same race. They barely argue, so this didn't hurt their relationship much, and they moved past it. What set it off was when Mason was able to qualify for an engineering program abroad for about a year. Me and my wife were obviously excited since this would do great in his future. He would come back at least once a month, and though I wished he spent more time with us, it was normal that he would spend that time with Tracy. Well, while he was still abroad, Tracy approached us and told us she was pregnant. I was excited, but my wife was skeptical about the pregnancy and asked her straight up if it was Mason's. Tracy got offended and they argued. She got her parents involved, who were all saying their daughter would never sleep outside of relationship and that my wife just didn't want Mason to step up for his own kid. I told them that it was natural to get wary since Mason was barely home and we could all solve this with a DNA test when the baby is born. Tracy and her parents were against this idea, but after talking to Mason, he agreed, though he was a bit disappointed in his mom. Skip 9 months and a couple more weeks for the DNA test, and the baby was his. My wife apologized and now just wanted to move on. Tracy didn't. She said she didn't want my wife involved since she stressed her out during the pregnancy, and since she doubted her own granddaughter, she shouldn't get to be in her life. My wife was absolutely broken by this and kept asking for forgiveness over and over again, but Tracy and Mason refused. It got to the point she would cry herself to sleep, and it really broke me. I called Mason to tell to come to his senses, that his mom was just worried about him and wanted to make sure that he wasn't trapped with a baby that wasn't his. He argued that she needed to hurt a little for the pain she caused Tracy. What pain? She just didn't interact with Tracy till the baby was proven to be Mason's. I called him dumb for allowing Tracy to continuously disrespect his mother like this. I told him that until he sees his mom like a son should, he and Tracy are no longer welcomed into my house. This was her house too, more in fact, since she stays home and I won't have her feeling insecure in her own house. He got mad and threatened to keep my grandkid away from me, but at this point I'm not going to be manipulated. I told him if he wants to cut me off and live happily ever after with Tracy and her family, he can do so. I hanged up. He blocked me. I don't think I was wrong. My other kids are on my side and think Mason is going just getting manipulated by Tracy and her family. My youngest, though, thinks I shouldn't have banned him from my house. Am I the butthole? I don't understand the purpose of this post. You said that your son can forget about you and live happily ever after with Tracy and her family. That's what he did. Why are you not happy? Well, I guess the reason of your unhappiness is because you wanted to manipulate him, so he would give up his opinion and stop protecting his wife. But he did not do what you wanted, so now you're unhappy about that. Well, joke's on you. Am I the butthole for accidentally raising my voice at my wife and throwing away her dishes and clothes because she won't wash them, just buy new ones? I am 28 and I have been married to my wife who is 30 for 2 years now, together for 5. We were going to start trying for a baby, but that got put on hold and might not happen anymore. My wife and I both work and we make about the same amount and work about the same amount of hours. My wife and I originally had a chore system set up where we just rock, paper, scissors the calendar for our days off. We got a pretty fair cut, I want to say, but she did get more dishes days. I got more, if not all, the laundry. My wife hates washing dishes. She hates it with such a passion that she sometimes just shuts down and cries when she sees them in the sink. Before, when I caught her crying, I immediately went to help her, switch chores for the day, calm her down, and then it was fine. But because I was doing this, I noticed that she was crying on purpose, so I washed the dishes. I knew she was faking it because the second I took over, her tears stopped and she'd go do something fun that she liked without a care in the world, laughing and smiling. No wind down like before. Because of this, we changed our dishes to whoever makes the dish washes it, with the exception of cooking. Whoever cooked doesn't have to wash the pots and pans, because they put all the work in for dinner. This was also her suggestion, which I was more than okay with. This was working out for a little while until I noticed that my wife made a lot more dishes than me and just didn't want to wash them. I asked her when she planned on washing dishes after I made dinner at her request, and she blew up on me, telling me to quite literally F off. I did as she said, but left the dishes. The next day, she asked me why the dishes weren't done, and I told her because she didn't do them. She started a fight and I washed them, but I was unhappy. I do most, if not all of the laundry, because she just won't anymore and I refuse to wear dirty clothes. The only thing she has to do with the laundry is put it in the basket. That's it. We have a basket for darks, colors, and whites. She insists on her own basket for underwear and whatnot, so that is own thing and I hand wash it. She's been not putting her clothes in the basket. At first, I picked up all of her clothes and washed them because it was no big deal. But when I watched her take her clothes off and just leave them on the floor because I always pick it up, I chose to leave her clothes there. She asked me why her clothes weren't done. I said because she didn't put them away, and she blew up on me. Same story. Recently, this all came to a head with all the fighting. My wife has been getting lazier and lazier to push back because of our fights, and at first I was doing all of her chores on top of working, but I had a little moment of, why am I even doing this? And just stopped. The dishes piled, her clothes were dirty, crumbs were everywhere on her days. On my days, everything was spick and span. She decided that she's going to just start buying more dishes and clothes to combat not doing her part. I cannot tell you how frustrated this made me. She was buying plastic spoons and forks, paper plates, Walmart t-shirts, and whatever other cheap alternative to the nice ones she has at home. I just decided to start tossing them. When she noticed that I was tossing her cheap alternatives, she blew up at me again, and for the first time since we've been together, I raised my voice. My voice is deep, and I'm a big man, so this scared her, which I regretted. I immediately lowered my tone and told her that she just isn't doing her part and that she's wasting money buying useless things when all she has to do is just clean up after herself and put clothes in a basket. She cried, and despite how many times I apologized, she told me that she doesn't feel safe with me and that maybe we're better off divorcing. This shattered me. She's been cold with me, sleeping on the couch, and playing domestic mistreatment signs videos out loud. It's such a low blow. The videos usually talk about yelling, throwing away items, control, emotional mistreatment, and signs that they are going to get physical. I don't think I'm wrong for what I did, but she's really wearing me down, and I have been getting some texts here and there from our families calling me a butthole, a mistreater for throwing away her things and yelling at her and that she needs to divorce me. The yelling was an accident. No one has wanted to hear what fully happened, and it's making me feel alone and a bit crazy. My friends are either staying out of it or are on her side if they're women. I've been losing friends. I feel like the butthole now. Am I the butthole? All I wanted was for her to clean up after herself. I'd never hurt her, and I've never yelled at her before, which I do regret. I didn't mean to scare her. I was just beyond frustrated, because this has been building for months. I get that I was probably immature to throw away the disposables, and that I should have just cleaned up after her. But I was just frustrated. Well, people all over the comments saying, oh, just divorce her. Why do you need that kind of woman? Wow, people, you're so fast to jump the gun and divorce everyone. What I think is that if your wife hates washing dishes that much, maybe you just have to do it. And the laundry will also be up to you. But at home, we have so many chores she can take up on vacuuming, picking up the clutter, dusting, washing floors. I am 100% sure that it is possible to divide the chores between two of you the way that everyone will be happy. But as for her behavior after you yelled at her, Several sessions of couples therapy can help with that. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel because I really want to get 25 more subscribers till the end of the week. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. I don't think my parents are genuinely happy I'm getting married. Should I have a direct conversation addressing their avoidant behavior? My fiancé and I are both 30 and have been together for 2 years. Earlier this year, he asked my parents for their blessing to marry me, and 3 months later, he proposed. My parents gave their blessing, but it felt more like an obligation than genuine approval. Neither of them seems interested in wedding planning. Whenever I try to share my happiness with them, they respond with worry, concern, or negativity. When we got engaged, I told my family via text since my fiancé and I were out of the country. My mom said, "Congratulations," and my dad said, "Wow." When I called them to share my excitement, they were very short with me. My dad didn't even get on the phone, and my mom only listened without asking any questions. This was completely different from my fiancé's family, who were thrilled and eager to hear all the details. Over the following months, my parents have made numerous negative comments like, "Oh, I preferred your ex. Are you sure you want to be married? It's not easy. It was easier to talk to your ex. I don't think your fiancé likes me, and I just don't understand why it didn't work out with you and your ex. I want to be happy and excited for this wedding. I found a respectful, loving person I want to navigate life with. If I were a parent, I imagine I'd be thrilled to see my child happy." Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this, because it seems like your parents' opinion matters to you. But at this point, I think you have to move on. And now you will have your own little family, and you can focus on that. My mom does not like the man I date. My mom doesn't like any guy I date, except for the only white guy I've dated. I am mixed with Mexican Caucasian, and my mom is fully Mexican. She's dated Hispanic men her whole life before my dad, but thinks they're different here in the States. I told her that a guy asked me out, and she automatically became hysterical. "Oh, let me guess, he's Mexican. I just hope he's not Cuban." He's from another Hispanic country. She goes on and on. She asked if he has a degree, and I told her not yet, because he just became a resident since he was part of a program that aided him through high school and employment. I told her what he does for work, and she asks, "That's all he does?" She then gets upset on how he just starting his life. I am too. I am halfway done with my bachelor's, don't have a stable job, but I make good money, and I want to enjoy my 20s without my mom's impossible expectations of me being successful before I'm 30. My only ex-boyfriend she has liked was white and did not believe me when I told her he was physically and verbally mistreating. She barely believed me when I told her he mistreated physically his most recent girlfriend, and she hopes he gets better. She says she wants the best for me and the culture does not matter, but she judged him before knowing any details about him. My dad is the reason why she had a great life in the States. He set the bar high for me on how men should treat a woman. Moving out is not an option. I'll be living paycheck to paycheck, and I don't think my mom has much time left. My dad passed a few years ago, so fighting is so pointless to me. She's being cold and distant, and as if I did something wrong. Should I be detached and unbothered with her to see if she comes around? Should I just try to be happy and ignore her ignorance? Exactly. Just live your life and she will come around. Because seems like she loves you, she's just very particular. I ruined my mom's day off. Yesterday, I was talking casually to my mom. I brought up my appointment to a skin clinic on Saturday and asked my mom if that would be okay. The appointment was initially on Friday, but due to mom's busy work schedule, I had to postpone the appointment until the next day. My mom said that my dad had to go too, and I said that he couldn't because I'm only allowed one parent to go with me, not my rules. She said she was terrified of driving there alone because it's too far. It's half an hour away. And she might scratch the car that my dad paid for. I told her that I had the postcode so she won't get lost. But she still refused to go without my dad. I told her again that only one was supposed to go and dad would be waiting in the car for a very long time. I am also kinda nervous about telling dad about me going to the skin clinic. He doesn't know yet. Because I don't feel comfortable with telling him about my insecurities because I know he's very well capable of making fun of me. This is where things spun out of control. Mom started getting mad and yelling that she won't be going without dad and that I'm selfish for telling her now that the appointment has been rescheduled. When she refused to go on Friday, she said that I should make my own way there, and I told her that it's their rules and I must have an adult there with me. She kept yelling at me and calling me selfish, etc. I don't understand why she got like this, because she knows that I have an appointment and I almost missed out altogether when I was rescheduling for her sake. I also needed to have this conversation because I need to pay a deposit which is non-refundable, so I didn't want to lose a ton of money if we couldn't make it. I also want to add that this is all coming out of my money, so it's not like I'm roping my mom into paying for something expensive. I look through the comment and seems like OP will ask her father to go with her anyway because her mom is being hysterical at this point. Am I selfish for wanting my own life? I am 18 and I started working and living on my own when I was 16. For different reasons, I will have to move in with my mother who is now separated and my younger brother. I will of course pay half of the bills and pay for my own stuff, but I feel like I was never treated with respect. I find myself switching back from my younger self and the adult me constantly due to my mother's behavior, which I think is quite immature. She finally left my father, who has been mistreating towards us and especially her, one of the reasons I left home at that time. My mother would always talk about how independent she would be and how she would get her stuff together once she's away from him. She always depended on me emotionally, since I was 6 years old. Includes discussing things and asking advice. She can never make her own decision and asks my input. However, when I want to go on a solo holiday or spend time with my friends, she tells me, "I give you too much freedom. How dare you being selfish?" It has always been like this. Keep in mind that I work and a lot of the times I cannot stay on the phone for too long, obviously. While I'm at work, she asks me to do stuff for her, and she gets frustrated if I don't. I can never have an adult conversation with her. She feels like her authority is being questioned and thinks I am disrespectful, and I find it ironic, since she would always come to me with her problems and expect me to understand why she behaved the way she did due to the stress in her marriage. I was never understood or guided and has to basically raise myself up. If I ever made any mistake, small or big, it would always end up very badly, and nothing was tolerated, while my father's behavior was always accepted no matter how bad it was. I never understood this, and I asked myself, why is she angry at a child who hasn't learned instead of an adult that should know? I feel guilty and overwhelmed when I distance myself. I'm in limbo with my younger self and my adult self. I can call myself that. I understand being 18 does not mean I am an adult, but I've been living alone without support since I was 16. Am I right to feel this way? Or am I truly selfish, as my mother said? I just want to do my own thing and avoid arguments. I feel like now that I'm legally an adult, it's also time for me to find myself as an individual, and my mother should accept that it's time for her to stop disciplining me and just advise me, since at the end of the day, she's still my mother. I went through public humiliation and physical mistreatment when I was young. Well, the humiliation bit hasn't stopped. I just want to be respected as an adult and as someone who will pay half of the bills, so technically she cannot say under my roof, since we are both paying. I feel like she's trying to teach me things when the time for me to learn those specific things have already passed. I'm not a child anymore. I did need guidance at one point like every child, but during that time both of my parents were too busy arguing. I was expected to stand up in front of my mother if my father ever tried to be physically mistreating, and she was said once, when this happened while I was sleeping, "I'm a heavy sleeper and I didn't notice." I told her multiple times to break up with my father since I was 9 years old, and she kept twisting my words, saying I never said that and that I was too young to understand that anyways. Am I wrong for wanting respect and be treated as an adult even if we still share a roof? No, of course you're not wrong. But I do not think that your mother will change. So you'll just have to deal with it and hopefully try to live your own life. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel because I really want to get 25 more subscribers till the end of the week. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Customer tells me I don't know how to do my job. I currently work as a dispense tech at a pretty busy pharmacy and currently in my second year of Bachelor's of Pharmacy. I've been working at this pharmacy for over a year now, so it's safe to say I know my way around medicines, especially since it's what I'm studying as well. An elderly lady comes in and asks for someone that knows Mandarin to help her decipher which medications she wants from her scripts, as this lady does not speak a wink of English. So I come over to help her. Note that I do come from a Chinese background and I can't speak Mandarin, as it is my first language. However, I have stayed in Australia for long enough that I am more fluent in English than I am in Mandarin. She hands me 5 scripts. 3 of those I offered to fill, as it seems that 2 scripts are new and she isn't aware the doctor prescribed her new medications. After a lot of back and forth, she decides out of the 2 new ones, she wants atorvastatin. So I bring the medication box over to her according to the script. She puts it through Google Translate and atorvastatin written on the box translated into the same word as atorvastatin written on the script, but with slightly different pronunciations in Mandarin. At this point, I'm baffled. I don't know how to explain her that if you match the letters on the box, it actually corresponds to the same letters as they appear on the script, because it is the same medication. Here's roughly what happened. Lady, you are wrong. What you brought me isn't what's written on the script. Me, confused. Atorvastatin is atorvastatin. Lady, you must be new here. You don't know what you're talking about because you're making mistakes. Can you bring me someone else to show me the correct medication? At this point, I pull a pharmacist aside to confirm the medication right in front of her, even when she doesn't believe me, so I just offered her to fill the scripts she's sure of and leave that one for now. Boy, I wish the story ends here, but it doesn't. In Australia, there are basically 2 healthcare cards. One of which is a basic healthcare card, Medicare, that is offered to all Australian citizens, and the other is a concession card that only certain people can apply for, which subsidizes majority of your medication costs. While I'm dispensing her script, I notice her waving her Medicare card around in front of me, demanding me to put it through the system so she gets a discount. I explained to her that firstly, I already have her card details, and secondly, the card she's waving around is not a concession card, and therefore you do not get discounted medications. I kid you not. Before I even get to finish the sentence, she cuts me off and says, "You're wrong, this does get me discounts." I am baffled at this point and point out that what she's waving is a Medicare card and not a concession card, and ask her if she has a concession card. I cannot even make this up. She said back, "This is the only card I own. I don't know what you're asking of me." I'm genuinely fed up at this point. So if she believes the wrong card can offer her a discount, then so be it. A few minutes passes and she gets her medications, and lo and behold, cashier's tab rings, and this lady is asking why she doesn't have discounts on her medications. I let them know that she doesn't have a concession card, and just to be safe, to double check with her for the 5th time. I do not recall much of what follows next, as I assume she just walked out after paying the full price. I normally don't let work affect my daily life, but honestly, this experience ruined the rest of my day after that. Oh, you're so sensitive! It's not that dramatic, so it can ruin a day. It's just a confused, old, foreign person. I think we have to be more accepting of each other. Ruined a man's sneakers. In my 8 years of working in retail, I've only had one other incident where I felt so scared and mortified at what I did while helping a customer. I work at a popular fragrance store at my local mall. It was an hour before closing when a couple walk into the shop. I greet them and tell them the sale for the day before heading back to my register. After about 10 or 15 minutes, they come to my register to check out. I noticed the lady needed 3 more products to complete the promo we were having, so I inform her of this. She then goes to get 3 more products. I noticed the lady grabbed a tri-spray, so I go to grab another spray from the top shelf near where her man was standing before she goes back to my register. This is where it all happened. I, somehow in my rush to get back to the register before the lady returned to finish getting the rest of her purchase, I basically pushed the spray I was grabbing from the top shelf to the floor, where the top of it snapped cleanly off when it hit the floor, right beside this man, food spilling the contents all over this man's sneakers. I immediately froze with a red embarrassed face and the fear of God in my eyes as I waited for his reaction. He slowly looked down and made a joke about at least now my shoes will smell good, as I'm apologizing and trying to clean it up. Then he tells me it's okay, they're just shoes, but he clearly looked annoyed. The rest of the transaction went normal. I am so thankful he was calm about it. I'm pretty sure his shoes were ruined though. Hopefully he doesn't complain to corporate. Well, since it's not a very fresh post, we can confidently say the man did not complain to corporate. And I'm sure the perfume is not the worst thing you can get all over your shoes. Adrenaline shakes. To put context around this story, I have to tell you a few things. First, I've been working at my current company for almost a decade, in different stores and the warehouse I'm currently at in various positions. I took my current role at the lowest level of management not to be customer-facing anymore. Recently, we've started doing customer pickups out of my warehouse, and I'm the primary for that 3 days a week. The rule for pickup is that the furniture has to be in factory packaging, not the wrapping we use for delivery and storage. Also, I spent some time as an infantry team leader in Iraq about 15 years ago, working nothing but retail and warehouses ever since. 2 customers come in to get their furniture. They had been told earlier in the day that one piece didn't arrive. They start being loud and belligerent to my associate, so she comes to get me. They are a father in his 60s and son in his 40s with thick Eastern European accents. I tried to calm things down and explain to them that they have to wait a day for the missing piece. They're free to take what we have or take everything tomorrow. They start yelling at me. I'm okay with this. When I tell them they're free to contact their salesman about the issue, they being swearing at me and telling me it's my job to call him. The receipt label is company and your label is company. You effing call him, referring to the logo on my shirt. Their verbal and physical communication have changed to being very aggressive. My immediate and unthinking physical reaction is to shift my body weight and ready myself for a violent altercation. Not the right answer, I know, but decade-old reflexes are still reflexes. I lose my cool, and that old combat team leader voice comes out. I really don't know how combat team leader voice sounds like, but I will try my best. Gentlemen, you are more than welcome to take what is here or cancel your order, comes out of my mouth. There is a stunned silence for about 3 seconds and then they start right up again. It's always like this wherever we go. This other store, that other store, the post office, everywhere. I do not tell them that maybe they are the problem. I do tell them that I cannot give them what they want because it's for another customer and I could lose my job. F that customer and F your job. That's not my problem. Gimme! I turn to the associate who originally dealt with them and ask her to get the closest manager. I am shaking from the adrenaline dump but controlling it. My brain is doing threat assessment, my body is prepping for one of them to swing on me, and my mouth is clamped shut, so I don't say anything worse. Manager comes out, talks to them as they yell about how bad we are, and gives them the piece from our storage bins that was for another customer. His call, not mine. And magically they are just so happy and helpful, getting their furniture loaded. The father even hugs the manager and tries to shake my hand. I'm nothing but shaking rage, saying polite yes sirs and no sirs until they leave. I told the associate she was free to take her lunch and that I'd deal with the pickups until she was done. Manager commended me for not losing all of my poop on them. Took another 5 minutes after they left for the shakes to stop. I haven't had an interaction like that since I left the army. It was jarring to just have my switch flip back to on so fast. I am not proud of how I acted in any way. In fact, I am disappointed myself for slipping to their level. As a leader, I should be better than that. That said, those guys can go to heck. Customer loses it over 6 gallons of milk. I work at a gas station, and a bit of context is that every once in a while, the company will reduce the price on certain popular items for a limited time. However, more often than not, there is always a limit to how much a person can buy so other customers can get the reduced priced food. Usually, we have an abundance of things that go on sale, like bread and bacon, and most of us do not enforce the limit. However, around the holidays last year, the gallons of milk went on sale, and there was limit of 4 per person. Our store is small and we do not have that much milk backstock that we can keep in the cooler and display. So this time around, everyone made sure to, if it ever came up, to enforce the limit, because milk is really popular already. Usually people who were buying the gallons of milk never buy more than 4, until this guy came in. He was by himself and it was almost time for me to clock out. I had like an hour left on my shift. I do not watch or pay much mind to the customers who come in until they are ready to check out. So I didn't realize that he was holding 6 gallons of milk when he came up. At first, I was impressed by how he managed to carry all 6 gallons to the front before I realized I had to enforce the limit. Hi, I'm sorry, but the limit for the gallons of milk right now is at 4. What? Why? It is because they are on sale right now. And since they're on sale for a limited time, there is a limit, so everyone can get some. Every time I've come in, I have had no problems with getting 6. I'm living with 6. At this point, I'm getting stressed and I try showing him the signs around the store saying the limit of 4, and that if he had somebody else come in for the other 2 gallons, it would be allowed, etc. But he's at this point raising his voice and getting very aggressive. Finally, he shouts at me for a manager, and I called the lead who's working that night, and to my disappointment and horror, he let him get away with buying all 6. I can get it, he wanted him gone, but I felt so stupid and the guy let me know how stupid I was. Unsatisfying ending, but that lead doesn't work at the gas station anymore, and I've never seen 6-gallon milk guy again. Thankfully, he took his business elsewhere. The last 2 stories are like mildly infuriating because what is the point of the policy if manager can be just like, nah, it's okay, we can avoid that. I don't have an ID, so I'm going to use his. Working in retail, you'll know you're going to get some dumb encounters, and I think this one takes first places out of my last 3 shifts. Regular came in. As soon as she's at the counter, she went, "Oh, I don't have an ID on me, but I want Marlboro Lights." I cannot sell without an ID. I tell her as such. She's a regular. She knows the rules. She tries to argue, and I repeat that I cannot sell and wave over the next customer. The lady grumbles, starts to walk away before turning to the customer I was helping and asking him, "You get an ID on you?" He didn't respond, didn't hear her. He asked me for a few cans of chew and she stalks back to her car, which was given a nightmare parking job and was blocking access to multiple gas pumps. As I'm ringing his stuff up, punching in his ID for the tobacco, she comes back over. The guy hasn't even left yet, still pocketing his things, when she repeats that she wants her smokes. I do what you do and ask if she found her ID. And I kid you not, she pointed at the guy I had just finished up and said she was gonna use his ID. Never mind that the guy never even said he'd loan her his ID. There are a whole bunch of reasons why I cannot do that. I tell her no, point out that using someone else's ID is illegal, and she tries to argue again. I tell her no, again, and she stalked off cursing up a storm. All the while, the guy is just wide-eyed asking what just happened and confused AF over why she thought he was gonna give her his ID. And there is an added, before I get this asked over and over, it's store policy. Doesn't matter who you are or how often you come in, all alcohol, nicotine, or tobacco purchase requires a valid government-issued ID. Sometimes people's arrogance just baffles me, because how the man can know who you are? And I understand that it is not a very big deal, it's just a purchase of tobacco, but still, A, it's illegal, B, we don't know who you are. What if you're a fugitive of some kind? Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get 25 more subscribers till the end of the week. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Am I the butthole for outright refusing to contribute to house bills at my mother-in-law's home? My mother-in-law fell ill last year and basically begged my husband to move us, him, me, and our 4 children into her 6-bedroom farmhouse to help her with bills and her basic needs. I didn't want to do this under any circumstances, but my husband pushed the issue. I felt I had zero say whatsoever, but I have continuously made my distaste known. We moved in November and she signed the deed to the house over to my husband. All the other bills are still in her name: water, heat, electric. I do not work currently. Our youngest is 8 months old and I have been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years now. Our other children are 5-year-old twins and 3-year-old. I have been home since I got pregnant with the twins, as it was a high-risk pregnancy. I do have income, however, doing hobby work. I make and sell customized quilts and make a decent amount of money off of it. My husband is currently paying nearly $2,800 a month here, and I pay for all the food. His mother literally only contributes by cleaning and maybe $400 per month, despite working full-time and making around $4K monthly. She basically says that she's putting all of her money into her retirement fund, which is damn near non-existent. Well, 2 months ago, my mother-in-law started really pushing the fact that she wants me to put my younger children in daycare full-time and get a real job so I can contribute to the remainder of her bills, because she feels too weak to work and wants to quit her job. I have refused. For starters, I am not putting my children in daycare. My husband agrees. I also breastfeed the baby. I also made it abundantly clear that I wouldn't be responsible for any of her bills because I didn't want to be here. My husband told me from day one that I would be responsible for nothing outside of food, which I have held up on. So mother-in-law is eating for free and has 90% of her bills paid for by my husband. She doesn't need anything else from us. But last night she started screaming at my husband about how she apparently wanted us to come here so she can retire early, and that the least we could do is pay for everything here since she signed over the house to us, and that I needed to get off my butt and contribute because he shouldn't be made to pay for everything when I am more than capable. I walk in and tell her she had best stop running her mouth about me when I'm not in the room to defend myself, and that I am not putting my children in daycare to make her life more cushy than she already has it. I told her if she wants to retire, then there are plenty of retirement homes, or we could move out and she can pay for 100% of her bills as she was before. But I refuse to do anything more than what I'm doing. My husband told me I should have stayed out of it and let him handle it. But his way of handling it is by saying, "I know, Mom, I get what you're saying," and nothing more. Am I the butthole? Of course you're not the butthole here. Somebody had to tell her, right? Because most likely your husband is not just passive, he doesn't want to offend his mother, but it hurts you and your children most likely, because stressed out mom is not a very good thing for her kids. So I think it's a good thing that you have said that. Maybe now she will get the point across. Am I the butthole for telling my younger siblings I am not their dad and they need to stop acting like I'm their parent? I am 22 and my parents had me at 19, and I was an only child for 6 years. Then they had 3 kids back to back who are now 16, 15 and 14. My parents were never the most attentive parents, but did a better job with my younger siblings than they did with me. But at some point, while my siblings were still really young, they started to come to me like I was an adult instead of mom or dad, and mom and dad let it happen. They were still there, but my siblings would ask me to make them food, or they'd ask me for money. I had none back then. Or they'd want me to help with homework, or they'd come to me if they struggled to do their chores. It got annoying very quickly, and I asked my parents to step in so I wasn't always saying no or having a sibling throw a tantrum because I was not acting more like an adult in the house who was there to do stuff for them. My parents were there for the basics, and if my siblings didn't come to me, they'd deal with stuff. But otherwise, they seemed glad to not have to deal with all the parenting. They still weren't as good with me as my siblings either. It was things prioritizing supporting my siblings instead of me, or making a big effort for their birthdays, but not mine. Christmas was another time it was super obvious, because my siblings got gifts they wanted, and I got needed stuff like hygiene products and socks and underwear. I brought it up to my parents when I was 15, and they used to excuse that they had me at 19, so they just didn't know how to connect with me the same, and they didn't have the means to provide for me like they did my siblings. When I learned how to drive and started working, my siblings relying on me got worse. They wanted me to drive them places, give them money. They wanted me to take them to school and pick them up. They would expect me to buy birthday gifts for their friends and take them shopping for that stuff. My youngest sibling even asked me to be a parent chaperone on field trip when I was only 16. It was suffocating, and my siblings could not be spoken to about it. They just wanted me to be the dad. They even called me dad sometimes. I was desperate to get out, and COVID almost effed it up, but I was lucky my girlfriend's family let me move in with them. Once I left, I tried to better enforce my boundaries and created distance, but they still wanted me there, and they'd cried down the phone about me leaving and not being there for stuff. Now that my siblings are teens, I tried to talk to them about it again, but my sister, who is 16, said I had to do these things because I'm supposed to. I asked her why I was supposed to, and she said, because you're basically our dad. My brothers agreed. I admit it pissed me off, and I told them in a firm and angry tone that I am not their dad and they need to stop acting like I'm their parent because I am their sibling. The oldest, sure, but I'm not their parent and I am not responsible for them. They said I was a butt and I should like taking care of them. Am I the butthole? No, not the butthole. And I think all of it is coming from the parents. Because kids do not just get ideas from the universe. Kids just read the room. They understand that parents are passive. Okay, here is the adult brother who will help me. And parents never corrected them and seemed like they did enjoy that you were the father of their children. So I suppose the only thing you could do is maybe to talk to your parents about it again, but I do not believe it would work. Maybe talk to your siblings again because they seem lonely and maybe they need to understand your point here. Am I the butthole for making a little girl cry at the hospital? I've been in the hospital past few days with my grandmother. She's on life support and isn't looking good. I've gotten probably 6 hours of sleep combined within the last 3 days, so I'm pretty cranky. I have a 4-month-old that I have been avoided taking to the hospital because of germs, but I had to bring her for an hour while my mom came to get her. We stayed in the waiting room because I don't think babies can be in the ICU, plus I wouldn't want her there anyways. A little girl, maybe 2 or 3, was in the waiting room too. It was just my family and hers, and there was about 4 or 5 people in her group and 15 in mine. I know it's a lot, but we thought my grandmother was about to pass any moment at this time. Anyways, this little girl started taking my niece's dolls at first and not giving them back, then screaming her head off and trying to go into the ICU. Her family would just tell her to come back to them, and she would for a moment, then go right back to it. She started crawling on top of my brother-in-law, and he was getting super annoyed. Then she noticed me holding my baby and came to look at her, which I didn't mind. My baby is 4 months now and loves grabbing at toys and chewing on everything. Now this little girl started pulling the toys out of my baby's hands repeatedly, and her mom from across the room just kept saying, "Lana, give it back." But she wasn't listening. This went on for like 5 minutes until she grabbed my baby's hand again and very roughly tried to pull her fingers off from her toy. Babies always have a tight grip on everything, so she started pulling hard. I said loudly and pretty pissed off, "No, this isn't yours, go back to your mom." She started crying a little and ran to her mom, who was obviously pissed off, and she said, "You have no right talking to my daughter this way." And I replied, "If you would watch your kid, I wouldn't have to." And that was that. My family is on my side because it was getting pretty annoying. She also threw one of those hard water balls at my elderly uncle, and it hit him in the chest. I feel like I'm in the right, but I have the really bad guilt feeling in my chest for talking to somebody else's kid like that and making them cry. Am I the butthole? And there is an edit. Also forgot to mention that the mom was on her phone the entire time, and who I assume was her parents and husband were sitting there just talking. Okay, I can accept some people calling me the butthole for talking that way to the little girl instead of her mom, but I won't accept my family being called the butthole for 15 of us being at the hospital. At this time, the doctor didn't believe she would make it, and we were getting prepared for her to pass. Before she went into surgery, before she was put on life support, I was the only one there because it wasn't that serious yet. She kept asking who was going to be at the hospital to see her after the surgery and had me call everyone in the family to have them there, as if she knew something was going to go wrong. I really think she just didn't want to be alone, so I'm definitely not going to apologize for having that many people in the waiting room. This waiting room was huge, and it was only my family and the little girl's family there. For everyone asking, my grandmother is miraculously getting better. She woke up some time ago and started pulling at the ventilator and was even conscious earlier. The doctor still doesn't think she'll make it through, but he was wrong when he said she wouldn't make it through the night. I just hope he's wrong again. I think we all are hopeful that your grandma will get better. Because my grandma is now 87 and she had all kinds of health troubles, but she's still here and she's still fighting. And we all know that nanas are superior. As for the butthole, not the butthole situation, I disagree with all my heart with everybody who calls OP the butthole. The babies are so fragile. You cannot pull on their finger, even if you are a very small child. Of course, the child herself is not responsible for her actions. She is very, very young, but she had parents there, literally in the same room. So I say not the butthole, not the slightest. Am I the butthole for not inviting someone for dinner because she made a big deal out of how she doesn't eat at homes of people who have cats? A while back, I posted a picture on my Instagram stories of my cat sitting next to my counter as I was cooking. On his own stool, he was watching. Again, he was next to my counter, not anywhere near the food. Doesn't go on counters. He doesn't go near the food. My friend Rose reposted it with her own caption, a puke face emoji, "You can't eat everybody's house." I ignored it and went about my business. She's very much the type of person who just regurgitates whatever popular phrase she sees on social media. Pineapple on pizza, monsters. Raisin in cookies are why I have trust issues. I don't trust people who don't like dogs. Hot girl walks, hot girl books, the Lulu. I'm going to hold your hand while I tell you this. Is the ex in the room with us right now, etc, etc. She has other traits that make up for it, but truthfully, I do tend to avoid one-on-one time with her. About a month ago, I hosted a small get-together to show off some lacrosse cookware I obtained. Getting older is weird. I had a whole little shindig with home-prepared food, lots of fun times between pals. I did not invite Rose. She found out after folks posted on their Instagram stories and confronted me over it, saying that I was giving high school mean girl vibes. I told her that she has made it clear she does not eat at homes of people who have cats, so why would I have invited her to a dinner party? She got defensive and said she could have just come and not eaten anything. I said that in the future maybe she should be more careful about what she says, because to me it was very clear. Rose has continued to tell people I'm giving high school mean girl to nurse pipeline, I am an accountant, and all that. Am I really the butthole for not inviting her. Why would she have wanted to come? I think because she's a pick-me girl who wants to be everywhere and desirably the center of everyone's attention. Also, I do not understand the thing with raisins in cookies. What's wrong with it? I love raisins in cookies, especially with white chocolate. Sublime. Is there a trend on hating on raisin cookies that I didn't know of? Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get 25 more subscribers till the end of the week. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Celebrity Karen. So I'm a builder. I primarily do high-end custom homes, 1 to 4 million price range. I'm a female, which is not common in the industry, but I really love what I do, and I am fairly decent at what I do. In the past, my projects were primarily in rural areas on large ranches, but this particular project is in the middle of a large city, which means there are neighbors in close proximity, which is something new for me to deal with. The neighbors around this area are some of the worst entitled, nasty people you can imagine, and one of them is a celebrity and his wife. We will call her Barbara, who is also well known. I haven't personally had too much interaction with the couple. When Barbara goes walking every morning, I smiled and waved, which I do with everyone because this is Texas, y'all. And she would always ignore me, which honestly is whatever. I'm not going to stop being kind because she's unfriendly. I honestly just started ignoring her. My job site has been really busy the last year, and most of my subs park alongside the street in front of the house. We all park on one side facing the proper flow of traffic. If someone happens to park on the other side of the street, the neighbors call the cops or the city building official. I find this incredibly annoying and childish, but whatever. I have my guys move and it's not a big deal. That being said, I stop by my project every morning to line my guys out and check on work that has been done, make my list, etc. Most of the time, I park on the very right side of Barbara's property, which is just to the left of my project's construction drive, so my guys have parking in front of the project house. I am not there long, usually 2-3 hours. One day I was outside the house and a woman approached me. I wasn't sure who she was, but apparently it was Barbara's maid. She informed me that I needed to move my car, which was on the correct side of public street, or Barbara was going to call the cops. I looked at her and said there was nothing wrong with me parking there. The maid then proceeded to tell me that Barbara was going to charge me $500 a day for parking in front of her house. I laughed and told the maid I didn't know they were that hard up that they needed to change a parking fee for using the public street. I went ahead and called the police to get ahead of the situation. He informed me there wasn't anything Barbara could do about me parking in front of her property, which I knew, but I could get a ticket for parking within 15 feet of fire hydrant, which is on the property line between my project and Barbara's house. The office informed me that I needed to be 15 feet away from the hydrant. I thanked him and he left. So I did end up moving my car. I took my measuring tape and measured out 15 feet, which put me almost smack in front of Barbara's house. I decided to park in front of her front sidewalk for 2 weeks after that. Every time she does something rude to me on the street, which happens more than I prefer, I park in front of her house just to piss her off. Honestly, if she had just come to me in the beginning and asked me nicely not to park in front of her house, I probably would have never again unless absolutely necessary. But the fact that she was okay sending her help to threaten me really pissed me off. Am I the butthole for keeping this going? I don't like when people think like they are above you because they're well off. I know billionaires that have better manners than this chick. Oh, I've said Barbara so many times that the only thing I have in my head now is abracadabra, da-da-da-da-da. But as for this post, I love it. Barbara, from this story, not the rhubarb Barbara, can go to heck. You want me to be more socially active? Got it. I'm from an Asian country and I have been living in a foreign country for some time and purchased my home here a few years ago. My hobby is play computer games and watch TV shows. and I've spent decent amount of money to set up my home for it. I have the fastest internet plan, subscription to all major streaming services, etc. My daily life is work, grocery shopping, home gaming, every single day. My parents came at the beginning of the year to live with me as they want to experience the foreign life. They were disappointed that they found out their son does not have an active social life here and spent all his free time at home gaming. They tried to make me more socially active by telling me what events are happening that I can go to and how they've been going out every day and made lots of new friends. Well, not really. I know they only go to 2 places: the shopping center for grocery or local community center where there are a bunch of retired people from our home country. My parents don't speak English. I don't even think they know how to use public transport here. Telling me to go out and socialize has become the topic of our dinner talk every night, and the tension, especially between me and my dad, has become more and more hostile. One night when they mentioned it again, I decided I've had enough. So I started to be more socially active by staying at an internet cafe until 11 p.m. every day. I also canceled the internet at home. They found out the internet is not working at home and notified me. I acknowledged it. They asked me when is the internet coming back. I said it's not coming back. What? Why? Because I am socializing every day. When I come home, I go to bed right away. When I wake up, I either go to work or go out socializing. I barely use internet at home, so why do I need it? 2 weeks later, mom tells me that they are going back home. I understand that OP is an adult person, that it's his home, but I still cannot shake off the unpleasant vibe. They are still your parents. You cannot just turn off the internet and basically tell them to F off. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can also watch that awesome video or this awesome playlist. See you next time!